students, how are you? I hope you're doing fine and keeping safe at home. This is Teacher Hilda, your teacher for literature, that is Senior 6, and I want you to get ready with your pens and notebooks so that we can study. But before we start, I want to remind you that this program is brought to you by the Rwanda Education Board in partnership with MASTERCARD Foundation and IEE Rwanda. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are at home, schools were closed and we are at home and we are supposed to study from home. In our previous lessons, we were looking at the text Animal Farm. We looked at the plot summary, we looked at the biography of the author. We summarized chapter by chapter from chapter 1 to chapter 10. And then today we are going to look at the themes in Animal Farm. I want you to first think about what we looked at and see if you can come up with different themes. For example, do you know any recurring theme in Animal Farm? Or what do you understand by the word theme? So a theme is a subject or a talk, like a recurring idea, something that keeps happening. So in our text Animal Farm, we have a number of themes. The first one is totalitarianism, we have class warfare, we have a revolution and corruption, among others. So we're going to first look at totalitarianism. Okay, I remember at the start of this text, I told you what totalitarianism is. So totalitarianism is a form of government in which the state seeks to control every fact, every factor of life, from economics and politics to each individual's ideas and beliefs. Different totalitarian states have different justifications of their rule. But Animal Farm suggests that all totalitarian regimes are fundamentally the same. Those in power care only about maintaining their power by any means necessary, and they do so by oppressing the individual and the low class. At the beginning of the novel, Animal Farm by George Orwell, Mr. Jones runs a farm, which is called Mena Farm. So it reads similarly to totalitarian and despotic to Stalin regime. So Mr. Jones spends time drinking and hires corrupt, unfeeling crones to run the farm, while his animals toil their lives away. So they toil their lives away, they work so hard only to be slaughtered or otherwise, or sold off. So some are even killed, by the way. When let's say an animal is no longer useful to him, of course it is killed. So the animals' lives are short and guaranteed to be lived in hunger, while Mr. Jones lives in relative luxury and believes that natural order of things is that he, as a human, should be the one in charge of animals. So after the animals overthrow Mr. Jones, and Napoleon, the pig, takes over the farm, the animals themselves begin to emulate this oppressive hierarchy, despite basing their initial uprising on the notion that all animals are equal. Now, since they said all animals are equal, but then other animals are more equal than others. Now, look at what Napoleon is doing, They fought a good war, a good fight. And then now Napoleon is the leader. But he is doing the same exact thing that Mr. Jones was doing. Now, I want you to note down the number of things that Napoleon does that shows that he is acting as Mr. Jones. So at the end of the novel, it is possible to see that if the other farmers who visit Napoleon's Animal Farm aren't yet running totalitarian farming establishments already, the hunger to do so is definitely there. Mr. Pilkington notes that it is commendable that Napoleon manages the farm very well, and provides so little food to the other animals. So this makes it clear that the tendency for the government organization to lean towards totalitarianism is often present, even if it is not always evident in practice as a given time. So in other words, Napoleon is a totalitarian dictator. So while the pig Snowball takes it upon himself to attempt to educate everyone on Animal Farm, Napoleon insists that it is not worthy to educate the animals who are already adults, and instead it is better to focus on educating the youth. So this does several things. First, by having an educated adult population, Napoleon ensures that those adults won't be able to teach their offsprings to think and potentially push back to him. So those adults won't be able to push back themselves because of their own illiteracy and because of how little power they have to begin with. So then while Napoleon uses youth to describe, remember, whom does he want to educate? He wants to educate the puppies and the piglets, the 9 puppies and the 31 piglets he fathered. So those are the only people he wants to educate. Why does he want to do that? So when Napoleon mentions educating youth, he very purposefully doesn't include the young chicks. Why does he want to only educate the puppies and the piglets? Okay, he doesn't include the chicks, he doesn't include the calves or foals. So in the time thereby really getting them into a position in society where they are unable to advocate for themselves for the change. So since they are not educated, how are they going to fight for themselves? Okay, how are they going to speak up for themselves? So portraying Napoleon as a totalitarian dictator, it shows how the system, how he wants to control everything without minding on how other animals are. Do they eat enough? Of course they don't. So in addition to controlling education and advancement opportunities, this novel, The Animal Farm, also illustrates the role of propaganda in a totalitarian state. So from Napoleon's initial takeover of Animal Farm to the very end of the novel, he skillfully deploys propaganda in form of the 7 commandments. So, as well as the skilled orator, Squealer, and the pig minimus, who compose songs and poems that praise Animal Farm and Napoleon, their lead, of course. Importantly, much of what the pigs write and say to the other farm animals comes in form of absolutes, as when Old Major says initially that animals should never concede that they might have common interests with men. But look at the animals now. They are taking beer, mostly the pigs. They are taking beer. They are sleeping in bed. They are walking on 2 legs. Yet initially they had said that animals should not walk on two legs. Why? Because in their commandments they had written 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. So Napoleon creates a cult of personality surrounding himself that is fueled by fear, ignorance, and deeply held belief that Napoleon's version of Animal Farm is the most possible scenario. So he creates a cult of personality. Look at how the dogs guard him, how he treats himself, how he thinks he should eat more food than the others. Okay, the trade he does with the humans, among others. So Animal Farm offers no real remedies for overthrowing totalitarianism. So indeed, the end of the novel, in which both pigs and humans are revealed to be equally corrupt and interested in presiding over totalitarian states. So, however, the very existence of the novel itself allows readers to understand how totalitarian state comes into being, gains power, and holds on to it. How do they come to power? They fight. There is a revolution. They fight a good fight. They win the fight. But then after winning the fight, the leaders turn against the people. What do? Look at Animal Farm. When Napoleon is the leader, look at what he does. He doesn't work. It is the other animals that put in much effort to work. But he, at the end of the day, cuts their rations of food. Okay? So that is why we come up with a theme of totalitarianism. Now, like I said, totalitarianism is a form of government in which the state seeks to control every factor of life, from economic to politics, of each individual's ideas and beliefs. Come along and play with us. So let us look at another theme, which is revolution and corruption. Revolution and corruption. So Animal Farm depicts a revolution in progress. Like all popular revolutions, the uprising in Animal Farm develops out of a hope for a better future in which farm animals can enjoy the fruits of their own labor without the overbearing rule of humans. So at the time of the revolution, all the animals on Mr. Jones' farm, even the pigs, are committed to the idea of universal equality. But these high ideals that fuel the revolution in the first place gradually give way to individual and class-based self-interests. Animal Farm illustrates how a revolution can be corrupted into a totalitarian regime through slow, gradual changes. They don't happen immediately. They take step by step. At first, the revolution creates the sense that there could be a bright future in store for Animal Farm. Old Major makes a number of objectively true points in his speech to the animals, such as that Mr. Jones is cruel and unfeeling master who cares little or not at all for their well-being, and that humans themselves don't produce anything like eggs, milk, among others, but they make the animals work so hard. The 7 commandments that Snowball and Napoleon come up with in the month after are similarly idealistic and in theory lay the groundwork for a revolution that truly will elevate individual workers above horrible totalitarian leaders like Mr. Jones. Indeed, when the rebellion surprisingly happens, things initially seem as if they are going to a positive direction for everyone. There are debates among the animals. Animals have the ability to propose items for the discussion, and every animal participates on working of Animal Farm. Every animal. Best of all, the animals pulled in the best and fastest hay harvest that the farm has ever seen, suggesting that their revolution has benefits in addition to freeing them from a cruel situation under Mr. Jones. It seems possible that they will truly be able to make self-government work. However, this novel Animal Farm also offers early clues that corruption begins to take hold on Animal Farm long before Napoleon takes drastic steps to turn it into a totalitarian state. Even when, by most metrics, things seem to be going smoothly and fairly. For instance, it's not an incident that only the pigs and the dogs are the ones who become fully literate. Well, to a degree, this becomes a chicken and egg question. Why do we have to sell our eggs? And, and why has Napoleon cut our rations? Okay? So the fact remains that only literate creatures are the ones who ultimately seize control. The ones who are not, no. So further, even the idealistic Snowball insists to the other animals that because the literate pigs are mind workers, engaged in figuring out how exactly to run Animal Farm, they need the entire crop of apples and all the cow's milk. So this power shift takes place during that first exceptional hay harvest, making it clear that things aren't as rosy as the hay yields, okay? The increasing productivity, it suggests, might lead one to believe. So the corruption doesn't end with a theft of milk and apples. No. By the end of the novel, the pigs sleep in the farmhouse, okay? Have a school for the pigs, for the piglets. They drink alcohol and they consume sugar, the ones of Mr. Jones. Okay, so however, one of the most corrupt things that the pigs do is to modify the 7 commandments to effectively legalize whatever it is they decide to want to do, from drinking alcohol to sleeping in beds. So this corruption is something that most animals don't notice, while those that do are either cowards, they cannot say anything, or they pretend that they don't notice or execute for oppressing concerns. What they do is they keep quiet. Why do you think that happens? One, because they are not educated, and if they dare say anything, Napoleon is guarded by the pigs. The pigs will do their work. So this combination of fear and unthinking trust in leaders, the novel suggests, is one of the most important elements that allows corruption to flourish. So, though the animals' rebellion began as one against animals and everything they stand for as animals, they had agreed no taking alcohol, no sleeping in beds, among others. But look at the pigs. That is exactly what they are doing. So, with this, the novel proposes that revolution is something that repeats throughout time. Because of corruption, those individuals who are powerful to begin with or who overthrow cruel or heartless leaders will inevitably come to resemble those former leaders once they understand what it's like to occupy such a position in power. So in sense, Orwell paints a grim view of revolution as a whole. As Animal Farm demonstrates clearly that even when the ideas of a revolution may be good, it is also easy to twist those ideals, fall prey to corruption, and poison the movement, harming countless powerless individuals in the process.
Come along and play with us.
Now, let us look at our last theme, which is class warfare. One of the main tenets of animalism, the ideology that Napoleon and Snowball developed, is that animals are equal. Okay? However, it doesn't take long for the pigs to begin to refer to themselves as mind workers, to distinguish themselves from the other animals who, of course, work as physical laborers. So through this, the text Animal Farm shows how differences in education and occupation can lead to the development of a class hierarchy, which leads inevitably to class warfare, in which one class seeks to dominate the other. So though Animal Farm suggests that the mind working, the pigs, are intellectual class, will almost always prevail in this struggle, it also goes to great length to suggest that whether because of ignorance, inaction, or fear, this is something that the working class allows to happen. Even as early as Old Major's speech, it is possible to detect that there are class divisions to play on Manor Farm. It is telling, for one, that it's a pig who is giving the speech, and that the other pigs sit close to the platform, while the other animals fill in behind them. The respect that all animals have for Old Major and the seating arrangement suggests that pigs are a species already ready to occupy a special place on the farm. Following the rebellion, the pigs prey on this structure by using their literacy to catapult themselves to positions of power as mind workers. Why do they call themselves mind workers? One, because they are the ones who organize for the farm. They are the ones who make the trade with humans. Okay, they are the ones who think on behalf of other animals. So because of the pigs' literacy, they are able to effectively take control over every aspect of the farm. Okay, they do so in part by making it extremely scary, okay, and dangerous to stand up to them. So which Napoleon does by training 9 attack dogs and sending them out with the pigs when they spread the news. So with the dogs, who are known killers, around, no one dares ask too many questions that may betray their dissatisfaction with their lives. So, as objectively successful as the pigs may be in this endeavor, Animal Farm goes to great length to show that, especially at the beginning, the pigs are only able to achieve superior status by tricking others into thinking that they are less powerful. This is especially apparent in the case of Boxer, a good-hearted but unintelligent cart horse. So Boxer throws himself into the work of cultivating the farm with his personal motto, "I will work harder." And he fully supports Napoleon and Napoleon's rule, even when at times Boxer recognizes that Napoleon isn't tactfully acting in Boxer and the other workers' best interests. So the fact that he's not a mind worker, however, means that Boxer pushes back on this march. This all comes to a head during Napoleon's trial and execution of the traitors, the ones who confess that Snowball made them do certain things. Okay? So Boxer sends 2 dogs flying and pins the third under his massive hoofs. It's clear through the dog's terrified reaction that if Boxer were so inclined, he could do away with Napoleon and Napoleon's brutal dogs with a couple of kicks. So Napoleon's power as a mind worker means that he has created an environment in which Boxer he's not aware of his own physical strength. Part of being of the lower class, so Animal Farm suggests that it is not being aware of one's power to effectively fight back. So Boxer doesn't really fight back because of what he thinks he is. He thinks he is uneducated. But given a chance, he would be better than Napoleon. So the novel also offers Benjamin, the jaded donkey, who believes that no matter what, life will be difficult and everyone will work against him. Okay? So Benjamin, unlike Boxer, becomes completely literate within a few months and seems him alone in his awareness of the pig's corruption and attempts to manipulate the animals. So Benjamin, however, stubbornly refuses to read the ever-changing commandments to others and never sees a reason to enlighten his fellow working animals as to what's going on. So as a result, when Benjamin finally does speak up about Napoleon's betrayal of Boxer and reads that Boxer is headed to the glue factory rather than the vet, it is too late to do anything. Okay, the animals don't have enough time to trap the van containing Boxer on farm property, and Boxer is too ill and weak to break out of the van. So through this, the novel illustrates how willful inaction and ignorance of all sorts work together and keep the lower class oppressed. So those who know what is going on and never alert those who might be able to fight, while those capable of fighting never figure out who their true enemy is. Okay? And therefore they are never able to do anything but support the state that oppresses them. So through this, Animal Farm paints a picture of class struggle in which once class divisions are established, it is very difficult to change them or break them down. Even theoretically suggests that class shouldn't exist in the first place. However, even more damning in this novel's assertion that this is something that the repressed lower classes allow to happen to them when they are unable to identify their oppressors or refuse to speak out when they do see what's going on. So the novel ultimately suggests that silence, especially when combined with fear and lack of education, is the primary reason for oppression and the reason why the upper classes are able to maintain their power so effectively. So we can also look at language as power. Look at how the animals use power to control the other animals. One, some of the animals are not educated. They don't know how to read and write. But look at how Squealer tries to manipulate other animals. He tries to tell the animals about what is happening on Animal Farm and tries to defend Napoleon's action every time animals try to discover there is something going on. There is something that is not right. So Squealer is the one who does what? Who speaks on behalf of Napoleon, spreading the propaganda.
Come along and play with us.
So those are some of the themes in Animal Farm. We have looked at totalitarianism, we have looked at class warfare, we have looked at language as a form of power. So in our next lesson, we are going to look at character and characterization, okay? But I want to leave you with a question. How is the theme of totalitarianism portrayed in the text Animal Farm? How is the theme of totalitarianism portrayed in the text Animal Farm? I want you to answer that question so that in our next lesson, we can first look at that before we look at what we are supposed to look at. In our next lesson, we shall look at character and character traits of the different characters in Animal Farm. So I want to thank you for being good students. Thanks for paying attention. I want to ask you to keep safe, keep home, and above all, respect your parents. Until we meet again. See you.
Goodbye, 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 teacher. Goodbye, children. See you next time. Goodbye, 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 teacher. Goodbye, children. See you next time.